Welcome to the Up the Planters podcast, episode 10. I'm here speaking with Alex Fumagalli, who is coach with Norwich United under-21s and under-18s. Do the under-21s and 18s train together at the same time, or are they separate?
At the moment, for the past seasons, we had that, and I believe it's mostly because it was easier with timings and resources, as of the training page and stuff we used to do at the Open Academy in Sproston. So that was obviously easier. On the league and team's perspective, I wouldn't say it's probably the best, because during the season, obviously under 21s, as we know, they play in Anglian combination, which is really adult football. And under 18s, they actually play with under 18s in under 18s leagues. So two completely different environments. So I think that with the next season, potentially we're looking to, I believe that with my team with under 18s next season, we're looking to separate and actually work on under 18s and prepare us the league as best as we can. But so far we've been all training together, definitely.
Yeah. And does that mean, in terms of the previous seasons, players have been playing for the under-21s one week, then maybe the under-18s the next, and kind of fluidly moving between, or is it just training?
It happened many times. The good things about that was that the under-18s were using the under-21s experience during training sessions, so there were obviously pros and cons, and obviously we were able to see all the players, and then the roads could have taken under-18s to play with under-21s. So definitely that is a pro that has helped a lot of players develop, definitely. But I would say that last season, mostly we had a solid team with under-21, so there were not many under-18s going into it, but there were a few still able to go in.
Okay, great. And you've said, as you've said, the under-21s play in the Anglian Combination Division 1, and finished around mid-table, I think, given the
yes, season. Correct, yeah.
And the under-18s play in an under-18 league. What would how much difference is there between those two leagues, and what do you think is the biggest difference?
Big time. The difference is completely the opposite. So as I said, the under-21s, the Anglian Combination is really an adult league. What I would say, like, go big or go home. Is that you go in with intent to be playing as much as you can, with hard as you can, or you're going to be, not destroyed. This is probably not the right word to use, but you will feel on your body the consequences. Let's put it that way. We all know how pitches around here are. They're not the best pitches at times. You might end up playing literally in the middle of the field. You might end up playing with players who are double of your size, especially if you go with 19, 20 years old. Is a league where you feel the consequences on your body if you don't play with everything you have. The under-18s is different. They are all on the same level, same stature. Yes, you might find the 18 years old, which is like 2 meters, 6 foot, 85 kilograms, which it's rare, but you still find them. But the idea of the league is completely different. That's why I was saying earlier that with training sessions for next season, I would definitely go and work just with the under-18s, for the simple fact that we need to prepare the league as best as we can. Especially because that is the last step they have, those players, before they go into adult football. So we need to make sure that they are prepared as much as they can for their league to then transition into the adult football, let's say.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, seeing the Anglian combination football or sides at that level quite a lot recently, you could probably argue it's at times even more physical than the Thurlow non-Premier.
Yeah. I would say that. Yeah, definitely. Anglian combination, I think, is a lot more. It's just because probably the quality, with all due respect as well to obviously all the teams that play Anglian combination, but sometimes obviously the quality is not as high as the Thurlow non-Premier Division or First Division as well. So definitely you need to outclass. Sometimes other players, they outclass themselves with the physicality. So, if they go on a 1v1, they go fully into it. They don't look back if it's a 20 years old or like a 45 years old. They don't really look at that. So that's what I'm saying. You need to, is different kind of game completely, I would say.
Yeah. Okay. And obviously with it being a very competitive league as well, you're not going to get first team adult sides giving you any leeway or accommodation for the age of the players, I'd imagine.
No, exactly. And that is what definitely we did better in the last season. The one that just finished. First of all, because we had a better team, I would say. We better structured. So we actually, all the players understood the roles. We had enough players actually to be, I would say, competitive. With some teams, maybe some less with others. And the league also, I would say, they reflected that, because the season previous to the last one, we were bottom of the league. But it was a transition. We were playing with very young players, and we never had the start, the same 11s. We never had them. There were a lot of missing players every time. But last season, that definitely helped, having a structured team. So that is good. And and there are some, obviously, there's the help from the first team that Steve was sending down some players when they were injured, or to recover from the injuries and stuff like that. So definitely that helps, because they bring in a lot of experience. And when you play with 19, 20, 21 years old, they need the extra experience. Even if they're playing with a first team player that is only 22 years old, but they still have the extra experience, the extra gap that they're missing. So definitely that was good.
Yeah, because you had sort of Adam Probert and Matty Doyle playing quite a lot for the under-20.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So obviously last season was hugely disrupted by the pandemic. But how did the season go? Did you get to complete many fixtures, and kind of what are your reflections on last season?
I would say probably the last 2 seasons have been disrupted, really, because we never had to finish. I think we did 2 seasons in one, or 1 in 2, depending on how you want to see it, really. So if we take a step back, as I said, I believe there are 2 seasons disrupted. The first season, the one that stopped, that was better with the under-18s. Under-21s, I don't really remember how they were, because I never really followed them on a match day, actually. So I don't remember exactly how they were. But under-18s, we were doing okay. We were fighting to get to the top spots, which we didn't. We weren't able to achieve that. And then the last season, it was hard, because the players, they were coming from a long stop, and there was a lot of uncertainty. So I think the players, they were not discouraged, but they were very confused on what was happening. So I don't think the last season went as well. And there was a big regret that we ended up only having some of the players for one real season, which is their first one, and then obviously they outgrew the under-18. So that was, I would say, personally, the biggest regret, to have not worked enough with some of the players, because I know that definitely we would have been able to take them to a better level that they could have, they probably are now, or what they could have been. Yeah,
it's obviously, just thinking about it now, having the 16 to 18 kind of group, if you miss 2 seasons, or 2 seasons are messed up, you've essentially lost the entire time working with them.
And at that age, I think it's very important for them to have a stable place where to actually work, on a weekly basis. And if you miss those 2 years, as I said, that is the last year you have, the last few years you have before you go to senior football. You might end up struggling a bit if you're not already at an extra level to your same age. Then you might end up struggling a bit. But we'll see. As I said, we already have obviously one under the team that had a call with the first team. It was Tom Grant. I believe that he has already that extra knowledge above his current age, and hopefully, next season I'm able to produce even more players that are able to be called to first team or under 21. So definitely that would be the major point for me.
Great. And obviously we didn't get much of a sort of the post-season competition in terms of first team, but Jaden Snelling was getting some minutes towards the end of last season.
Yeah.
Which does show players starting to break through. So how pleased were you with that? And you must be hoping to see other players do similar.
I think that Jaden was, it's one of those players that you call one in a not in a million, but one in a lot, I would say. For his age, he has the extra pace that other players maybe don't have. He's very intelligent on the ball. He knows what to do with the ball. He's fast. So it's really what you're looking at in a player, especially at that age. If they don't run, 18, 19, 20 years old, who really want to, so yeah, definitely happy for Jaden, and I hope that he can actually keep that level, that Premier, and then hopefully he can go up as well. Obviously all the best for him, whatever he wants to do in the future as well. Then yeah, as a coach, is what you want is obviously be able to produce certain players to reach them, to make sure that they reach those levels and higher, obviously, if they can. So yeah, very happy at that point, obviously.
Excellent. Yeah, and we've also seen Reuben Lane, who left Norwich United end of last season, winning the Offside Trust Premier Cup with Caister.
Yeah.
Similar question, really, but how satisfying is it to see players you worked with move on and achieve with other clubs?
Reuben, he knows. I always told him, and I always wanted the best for him. I think he's a fantastic person and a fantastic player. He's very young, so he can do a lot. I know obviously he has, work commitments, and, football sometimes is hard. He wanted to play more for us as well with under 21s. Not sure really what happened, as I said, because I don't really follow the 21s, but then he decided to try and go somewhere else, which I'm pleased for him, because clearly he worked out. I think they are, is still a good level what he's playing at with Caister. And it showed that, obviously winning the trophy at the end of the season, that definitely would have given him an extra satisfaction for what he wanted, and clearly he's been able to achieve it. So yeah, as I said, I always had that extra, not a soft spot, but I always wanted, it's good to see certain players that you want them to do good, they're actually doing well. So yeah, it's great.
Brilliant. And in terms of your time at Norwich United, when did you join the club, and what sort of attracted you to the club in the first place?
Yeah, so I think was this 3 seasons ago. That was when I started. It was literally just on a pre-season training. When I came to England, I started playing because I didn't really know how football really works in England before. I came here in 2014 and did 2 years of actually playing, but I was on Sunday League, nothing really special, which I never really had to do, really playing, because I came from big injuries when I used to play in Italy, and I decided to go back to coaching, which I already did in Italy a little bit with my father, and I decided to start coaching with the kids under 10. Obviously, that was good. Enjoyed, learned a lot how, especially how it works in England with all the different rules. I would say that coaching in England is completely different than Italy or Europe, I would say as well. Not just for the football tactics and techniques itself, everything else around is different, like big time. From the club, how the clubs are run is different. So that obviously took me a little bit to get used to it. And then I wanted to just a little bit of bit more competition. Obviously, under 10 is not competitive, so I just needed the extra edge to be in a position where it was competitive football. And to me, under 18s obviously was what I kind of was looking for. Under 16, under 18s, the age groups I was looking for, and I saw obviously the Norwich United was they needed some help. I sent a message, and then Rod got in touch with me, and then since then obviously that started. But yeah, so that for me, the competition part of it, that is very important in football, especially for me. The players, yes, they need to have fun, but they also need, especially at this age, 18, 16, and 17, 18 years old, is when they need to understand competition. So you win or you lose, basically. That's my point of view. And I think that sometimes here in England, we tend to pamper the players a bit at those ages. But if you're looking around Europe, those ages are the ages where, as I said, they need to understand you lose or you win. There is no, there is the joy between, but it's not good for anyone, basically. So yeah, I just needed the extra edge, really.
Excellent. Okay, and you touched on there that England and Italy very different.
Yes.
around football clubs, it might be difficult to put your finger on, but what would you say is kind of the biggest difference or the biggest differences between the two football cultures?
I think clubs mainly, how clubs are run. So obviously we are, as Norwich United, we're now getting towards that with Toby, obviously as a technical director. But what I can see between the differences mainly is that here in England, you tend to have the youth set up with a completely different organization from the adults set up. There are a few teams around Norwich who are all together, like, Diram and other places. I'm not going to say that and name them all, but there are quite a few teams, clubs actually are doing that. I'm very glad we are getting that as well, which is really what I wanted from this club, to actually bring all the club together from the under 7 to the first team. And then in Italy, it goes from the smallest club to the biggest club. They're all the same, so you end up having the same, the same chairman, the same owner, or whatever you want to call it, and they all work together. Because at the end of the day, if the first team doesn't rely on the youth setup, it doesn't work. Football doesn't work. You always end up looking elsewhere, and at this level we are, you end up spending money where you could easily just bring players from your setup. So I would say that is the biggest difference, and then a bit of mentality. I think European football, like mainland Europe, is more of, as I said, a bit more aggressive, a bit more of, I want to win. I don't want to lose. No one likes to lose, even in England. I know that, but at the same time, there is the extra bit of less pampered, let's say.
Okay.
That's the word I use a lot. Less pampered.
Okay. And prior to joining Norwich United, you said you played and coached a bit in Italy. Kind of, could you take your sort of
So luckily for me, I played as started playing at a professional level, but then got injured, so my career ended up very, very quickly. But I always played as a goalkeeper and stayed around basically my hometown Monza, which now is in a Serie B, which is second division, like a second division basically. And so played around there really. And unfortunately, due to injuries, mainly my knees, never really got to break into the full-on professional, like proper game time and stuff. So that was a bit of regret, but I've done my good minutes. I got the experience I needed to then move into coaching, which I did with my father. My father still coach now, like local teams around Milan, which is where I'm from. And I just wanted to, the steps where you want to go and help coaching. I think doing that with my father was the easiest way to get into coaching. And to do that in Italy, you don't really need the license like you do in England. We do level 1. You can coach lower teams without that, and then if you want to go a little bit longer, a little bit higher up, then you need to start obviously doing the licenses. But even that, it works different. We go regional, and then you go to the national licenses. It's a bit different. But that was basically my journey in Italy, really.
Great. Okay. And what would you say your kind of coaching or tactical principles are? What do you like to see in your players and your teams on and off the pitch?
Well, so again, going back to the fact that this year I'm actually going to be taking on the under 18s, and even though we're not a professional team or professional club, I put a lot of time and a lot of effort in preparing, whether it's a training session or there's the game or actually the season itself. So I expect the highest level that can give me a professionality. So obviously respect is the main in football, I believe. And then I expect the maximum level of attention to details from themselves as well. Obviously we haven't had the chance to get all the players together yet. Obviously we have an open trial coming up, so we're going to probably do it after that. And we're going to be very, very clear with them realistically for next season. I just need them to know that every action there is a consequence. So they either want to be part of the club and the team, or they don't. There is no middle way for me. You either give me everything or you don't. So if you don't, then I will look elsewhere for different players. That to me is the main point of focus for this season.
Okay.
So professionality and time, and the mindset especially is very important.
So with your under 18s side this season, will there be players progressing from the under 16s into the under 18s? Have you got many coming through in that sense?
We have a couple, I would say, or probably three as well, that are coming up. And then we had, to be fair, we had a bit of from everywhere, all around Norwich, where a few people contacting us. I've already seen a few of them, which they've been training with us for the past month, I would say. And then again, as I said, we have an open trial coming up on Saturday morning, and we'll definitely, hopefully, I can get some good players from there as well. So the team is basically nearly done. I just would like to fill out some gaps that we're missing. I know that we're missing some gaps, and then I think we're ready to go, really. Just looking forward for pre-season.
So final question is, what are your plans and targets for the coming season with the under 18s? And what would kind of success look like for the under 18 side?
Let's start from the last bit. So success is a big word with under 18s, but definitely make sure that they understand the good mindsets and the values of the club. Definitely that is a good point to start with, and then make sure they progress. Really, that for me the success is not enough. I don't want to say win the league, because under 18s, yeah, we're winning or losing the league is not really what it is, but the winning mentality, and for them to be able to progress then to under 21s or actually the first team directly, if they are that good, they can obviously go to the first team if still selects them. So definitely, to me, that is a success, to be able to produce players to go up. And the target is just, to actually have a team where they all play for each other, and be, as constructive as I can, really, to make sure that they learn a lot from what me and the coaching staff that we're going to bring in have to tell them, really.
Excellent. Well, thanks a lot for coming on today, and all the best for the coming season.
Thank you, Joe.
Cheers, Alex.
Bye-bye. Cheers.